Echoes of the Vale. Chapter 1. The First Spark. It was a quiet morning in the village of Evernest, where the air always seemed to hum with a distant melody. Birds chattered in the trees, their tunes rising above the rustling leaves, and the sun cast a soft glow over the cobblestone paths that wound between cottages. Among those cottages stood a modest stone house, tucked beneath the shelter of an ancient oak. Its wooden door creaked open, and a figure stepped into the light. This was Lina, a young woman of 17 summers, with a mess of brown curls and a gaze that always seemed to be searching for something just beyond the horizon. Lina was not like the other villagers. While most spent their days tending fields or crafting wares, Lina had a gift, one that she barely understood, but one that was slowly beginning to awaken.
"All right, let's try again,"
she whispered to herself, her voice carrying a lilting accent, light and melodic, as if the words themselves were part of the morning's song. She stood in the small garden behind her house, a place filled with herbs and flowers, some of which only she could grow. In her hands, she held a small stone, smooth and polished, etched with the faintest of symbols. The stone was no ordinary object. It was a conduit, a tool for channeling magic, or so she hoped.
"Focus and breathe. Feel the flow,"
she muttered, repeating the instructions her grandmother had passed down to her, though those words were now only a distant memory. Lina closed her eyes, taking in the sounds of the world around her, and concentrated on the warmth building in her chest. Magic in her world wasn't about casting spells or waving wands. It was about resonance, the ability to harmonize with the world around you and tap into the forces that lay hidden in every tree, stone, and stream. Lina's magic was still fragile, just the tiniest ember waiting to catch flame. But today, something was different. As she held the stone in her hands, she felt it, a subtle pulse, a connection. Suddenly, a soft glow began to emanate from the stone, pale and shimmering, like moonlight dancing on water. Lina's eyes flew open in surprise.
"Did I just—"
Her words were cut short as the glow flickered, then sputtered out like a candle in the wind.
"Blast it,"
she sighed, dropping the stone to the ground and slumping onto a nearby bench.
"That was closer, though. Closer than before."
She looked out over the garden, her thoughts wandering. Her grandmother had always said that magic was not something you could force. It had to come naturally, like the rising of the sun or the blooming of a flower. But Lina couldn't help feeling impatient. There was so much she wanted to see, to do. She longed to travel beyond the borders of Evernest, to explore the wider world. But without mastering her resonance, leaving the village would be impossible. Just as she was about to give up for the day, a strange sound caught her attention. It was soft at first, almost like the distant toll of a bell, but it grew louder, more insistent. Lina stood up, scanning the garden for the source of the noise. Then she saw it. A small creature, no larger than a cat, was perched on the stone wall at the edge of her garden. It was unlike anything Lina had ever seen. Its body was made entirely of light, shimmering and translucent, and its eyes glowed with a soft golden hue. The creature tilted its head as if studying her, and then, to Lina's astonishment, it spoke. "First spark. Almost lost it," the creature said, its voice like the chime of tiny bells. Lina froze, her heart racing.
You can talk?"
The creature nodded, hopping down from the wall and landing gracefully in the grass. Of course I can. I'm a Lumira after all. We speak when we choose. Lina had heard of Lumira before, though only in stories. They were said to be spirits of light, born from the ancient resonances of the world, guiding those who were destined for something greater. But she had never seen one in person.
What do you want with me?
Lina asked, her voice trembling slightly. The Lumira blinked at her, then smiled. The question is, what do you want, young one? You called upon the magic of the world today, and the world answered. But now it's up to you to decide what you'll do with that gift. Lina stared at the creature, her mind racing. She had always dreamed of adventure, of seeing the world beyond the village. But was she truly ready? The Lumira seemed to sense her hesitation and chuckled softly. Don't worry, you have time, it said, its golden eyes twinkling. But not as much as you think. The world outside is stirring. The resonances are shifting, and soon you'll need to be ready. Until then, practice. And maybe, just maybe, you'll be the one to find the path that lies beyond the clouds. And with that, the Lumira disappeared in a flash of light, leaving Lina standing alone in her garden, her heart pounding in her chest. She looked down at the stone in her hand, the one she had thought was just an ordinary conduit. But now she wasn't so sure. Maybe this was just the beginning.